Start with the basketball. We'll start with last night's action, perhaps not the two most scintillating games. Andraya Carter, the Celtics moving on to the second round easily. They dominate Game 5 against Miami. I guess the big question is, if they're without Kristaps Porzingis, can they still win the championship?
And the big answer is no, Greeny. They can make it to the finals, but they cannot win a 7-game series against the top 3 teams in the West without Kristaps Porzingis.
I guess the question, Zach Lowe, quickly is, when should we expect to see Porzingis back? Will we see him back before the NBA Finals?
I think they're going to play it as cautiously as they can. They've been tentative on the timeline. We will see, but I agree with Andrea. They can make the finals without him.
But maybe not win it all? We'll find out. Legs, meanwhile, the other game last night, an easy win, even easier for Luka and the Mavs. They beat the Clippers by 30. They're up 3-2. Is that series over?
But the Clippers have too many massive wild cards, and you can see their offense fluctuates dramatically. So is James Harden, Paul George, are they capable of dialing it up on the road and getting a win? Absolutely. Not over yet. Like Lucas said, they haven't done anything. They've got to get 4.
Okay, so we'll see about that one. It's been an interesting series, but nothing like this one has been. Zach Lowe, the 2-minute report from Game 5 of Sixers-Knicks was released late yesterday afternoon, and it stated that Tyrese Maxey, on this unforgettable 4-point play that turned the game and perhaps turned the series, should have been called a travel. What is your reaction?
Whoopsie. Sorry, guys. We got it wrong again. But I guess it equals out for Game 2 when we got it wrong that time. And all Knicks fans are just mad at Mitchell Robinson for fouling him anyway. It's kind of gone under the radar, but just another whoopsie.
Oh, so let me show it to everybody here in case you see it. We've telestrated it for you. We're going to show you exactly what the play is they're talking about. Cindy, whenever it's ready. So here he comes. 1, 2, and then that third little movement of the right foot. That's what they're saying was the travel. You can see it again here. 1, 2, and then that right there. Now, Andraya, I've been watching basketball literally since before you were born. That was not called a travel in the NBA in the last 25 years, right? Maybe when I was a kid, that's a travel, Zach. Do they ever call that in the NBA now?
I mean, that's hard to see even in slow motion. I think that's why they wouldn't have called it. Not that it's not a travel, but just like it's so minuscule, you can't see it with the naked eye.
That's what I'm saying. And so it does feel to me a little bit, Drea, like they've created an issue that didn't previously exist. I did not hear, unless I missed it, I did not hear a groundswell of people saying, wait a minute, wasn't that a walk? I didn't hear anyone really talking about that until the NBA came out and said, on second thought, it was a walk.
Yeah, I think the 2-minute report is an interesting concept to say the least. Maybe Knicks fans were saying that it was a travel, but being in that position in the first place, there are going to be missed calls down the stretch. We already know that. So if you're in a position where a missed call to that degree, that's a very small step, where that missed call changes the narrative of that game, you're already in a bad spot. The Knicks had multiple chances to win that game. That call was not the deciding factor.
Make your free throws, don't foul. It's a non-issue. And also, they got the benefit of it in Game 2. It's all even. Let's go forward.
Absolutely. I mean, in Game 2, that same Tyrese Maxey, Stephen A. Smith acknowledged it. He was sitting 2 feet away from it. Tyrese Maxey got mugged in the corner when the ball was taken away. So they giveth and they taketh away. And I guess that's the way it's going to go. But just to sort of close the loop on the 2-minute report of it all, Legs, I mean, you played in the league a long time. Before there was, I guess the 2-minute report always existed. They would send it. It was internal, or as I've been reading about it, it was about 8 years ago that they started releasing it after every game in the interest of transparency. I understand why they do it. What is your reaction to it, Tim Legler?
I can't stand it for all of the reasons that we just said. Number one, I think you have the propensity to draw attention to something that no one noticed. Not a single person picked up that Tyrese Maxey dragged his pivot foot. Nobody knew it. And so when you go into this kind of in-depth detail and now you release it, all it does is enrage fan bases even more than they were in the first place over losing the game, because now all of a sudden you say, hey, they're trying to be transparent, but then fans say, well, then why did they miss that call? And they start to get into like there's some sort of bias or favoritism. And I agree with what they both said. Look, nobody can say anything if you're a Knicks fan based on what happened in Game 2. All right, that 2-minute report, when we all saw what happened to Tyrese Maxey and it wasn't called. It's for all these reasons. I can't stand it. It's after the fact. It doesn't help anybody, and it just riles people up even more.
For the record, so this is the reasoning for it. The last 2-minute report is part of the NBA's ongoing effort to build a greater awareness and understanding of the rules and processes that govern the game. Additionally, it serves as a mechanism of accountability to fans and media who seek clarifications after our games.
So, I'm sorry.
Did we lose? Did we lose Zach there for just a moment? But it does make sense because, listen, Zach, you and I both know, and I remember this. It was always, oh, the league wants Shaq to win. The league wants this to happen. They want that to happen. So they say, okay, you think we're doing all this? Here's exactly what happened at the end of the game. Here's what we got right. Here are the 90% of the calls in a game that we get right. Here are the 10% we get wrong because asking for more than that at the end of the day is probably unrealistic. I mean, I understand it. Maybe the wording of it is a little bit tiresome, but I understand the logic behind it.
I understand they're trying to show fans, hey, look, we're doing our best. There is no conspiracy. By the way, if there is a conspiracy to help the Lakers, they've been doing a bad job for most of the last 15 years. If there's a conspiracy to help the Knicks, they've been doing a very bad job for like 40 years.
That's true. I'm told Legs wants back in. Timmy, go.
Well, I'm just saying, here's the real problem with it. Everything you just said is right, Greeny. I understand the purpose behind it with the league, but here's the thing. It's not as if they come out with a 2-minute report and say all the things that they missed, and then they say, and by the way, we're never going to get these things wrong again. It could happen again in the next game, and with all these different replay angles that you have now, so many things are going to be picked up. It almost comes off when there's 4 or 5 things that are called wrong in the last 2 minutes. It's almost as if it's an indictment against the officials, like they're not doing a very good job when it couldn't be further from the truth. This is as good as it gets on the planet, what these guys do and how difficult it is to officiate.
That was my thing. I went back and read the entire 2-minute report from that game. There were like 29 plays that they included.
You read the whole thing?
I did. I read
Right.
the whole thing. I was more just
God.
like looking at they have little acronyms, so it's like incorrect no call, correct no call. If you've actually looked at it, I went through 4 of them were deemed incorrect calls. 4 of them out of almost 30. Like, we already know referees aren't perfect. They do get most of the calls right. Maybe they don't have as many challenges or players. Send it to the players, because you really know what makes me more mad than the 2-minute report is players fouling in the first quarter and then doing this
right.
and asking their coach to review the foul. So send it to the teams. Let the teams understand why calls are made or not made, and leave the fans out of it. The fans don't care anyway.
Fair enough. The one thing I will say about it is that it was just yet another little plot twist in the Shakespearean tragedy that has been this series. One that feels like it's destined to go 7, if only because it's been too good to end too quickly. It feels like every couple of years we get a first-round series like this, and we are living in it, and we are here for it. Another twist it took yesterday after the Knicks fans took over Philadelphia's arena on Sunday. The Sixers and their leadership are doing everything they can to keep that from being the case for tonight's Game 6. I present to you the following tweet from the CEO of Fanatics, Michael Rubin, tweeting that he is teaming up with Sixers ownership to buy 2,000 tickets for the game tonight. They're giving them to first responders, healthcare professionals, and other local Philadelphia-based organizations. Rubin saying on X, quote, "We absolutely cannot let Knicks fans take over our arena again." Candidly, I love that.
You know
I love
what?
how that's
Can we-
handled.
can we-
Yeah,
that's-
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I'm not clapping for that.
Yeah.
Why are we not clapping
why?
for that? Well, who could be against this?
I'm not against it. That's nice. I mean, the cities are 90 minutes from each other. I kind of think the mixed crowd is a cool element of a series like this.
I don't know. If I'm Philly, I like it. Give it to the cops and the firemen. They're going to be loud.
Give it to the
They are
people
gonna be
that are
loud.
going to
They are gonna
scream
be
for
loud.
your team. There's
Yeah.
no way that arena should chant MVP when Brunson's at
I
the free
will
throw
say,
line. It shouldn't happen.
We need at least one Knicks fan to be an imposter, to get one of those tickets and
That's right.
reveal himself during the game as an imposter.
Spike Lee will show up like in a Philadelphia Fire uniform or something like that. Okay,
Hey.
one way or Legs.
Greeny, I just wanted to say, now that Josh Harris is involved with the Commanders, can we do the same thing and keep all the damn Eagles fans out of FedEx Field?
That's a good point. Okay, so let's stay with one
Thank
series
you.
at a time. One sport at a time here if we can. So Andraya, I'm going to ask you right now to tell me why the team that wins the game tonight is going to win it. These teams are both running on fumes. The Knicks played 7 guys the other night. The Sixers played 8. The Stars in that game all played like 50 minutes or close to it. The turnaround time is short. What decides tonight's Game 6?
The 76ers are going to win, I believe, because one, like you said, it's just been too good. I know Knicks fans don't want to see a game. They might not want to see a Game 7 in the Garden. Stephen A. Smith probably doesn't want to see a Game 7 in the Garden. Everyone else wants to see a Game 7 in the Garden. The series has been incredible. The 76ers now know Joel Embiid doesn't have to be the dominant force for them to win on that hobbled knee. He can defer to Tyrese Maxey and then recreate as far as his post action goes. So now you're deferring to Tyrese Maxey. They've already had success doing that. If the Knicks adjust to try to stop Tyrese Maxey, he can go right back to Embiid. They're going to win because, one, they're back at home. Hopefully Embiid got some rest and doesn't have a migraine, and they have a big two. They have an opener and they have a closer. We talked about this yesterday, and I think everything relies on Brunson for the Knicks. For the 76ers, they've got a top 2 tier level that those two players can take over.
Cindy, put the picks up just so everyone can see because we're split right down the middle on what we expect tonight. Zach, why do you think the Knicks win tonight?
I don't know. Just feels like crazy things happen, and it feels like the Sixers should win at home. I didn't like the way Joel Embiid finished that game, really played most of that game, made a few defensive plays. He looks like he's running on fumes. Everybody's running on fumes. I just kind of feel in my gut like the Knicks are going to find a way to gut this out in an ugly, close game. I don't know why, but that's what I feel.
Legs, why do you like Philly tonight?
Well, I just think that they're going to now pick up off of where they left off. I think Tyrese Maxey is going to start fast. He's going to be very aggressive in this game. He's going to make sure that they continue this momentum that they got by the way they played at the end of that game. I don't think Joel Embiid can be worse than he was offensively in the last game. He just wasn't very good, and especially when you talk about ball security, he's going to clean that up. If he spends more time in his sweet spots, which is elbows top of the key where he is so dominant, less time out on the wings and in the corners, I think the Sixers are going to get this win. I agree. It's going to be, I think, a low-scoring, ugly game, but ultimately the Sixers will get this win and force a Game 7 back in Madison Square Garden.
I'd like to know who decided it had to be at 9 o'clock tonight. This is a this is not a good time for me. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I have no issue. I have much less issue with the 2-minute report than I have with the 9 o'clock tip tonight.